Thank you all for coming this evening. Thank you for having us here. It's wonderful to be. Hello? Can you hear me? Hello? Great. So it's wonderful to be in Lisbon again. I love Lisbon. I was just telling these guys today that as I was getting ready to go sightseeing and spending my day exploring, I got a call from my wife. And she says, "Do you remember that little shop by the Castello where we saw that little vase 5 years ago?" I said, "Yes." She says, "Go get it. Because we don't know when we're going to be back here." I said, "Well, I'm sure they'll invite me again after the talk so I can get it next time." So I didn't get it. You guys have all read my bio, hopefully. There's a few details that are left out of that, which is, the real color to what we do is never told in words in biographies. I finished college when I was very young. I finished college when I was 19. And after working for about a year at Procter & Gamble, I decided that the corporate world was really not for me. So I went and started my first company. So I've been in and out of starting companies for the last 21 years. And I started, I think, a total of 12 or 13 companies. I've been very, very lucky. I think I've created a couple of companies that are now sort of worth over $1 billion. In market cap. I've had some medium-sized successes, but I've had a lot of failures. And when I say that I've been very, very lucky, I've been very, very lucky because I've survived all those failures. Not because I've gotten all those great successes, because I can't possibly take credit for those. Those are never the doing of one man or woman. Those are always the doing of a team, of a market, of a technology. But your failures are yours. And your failures are the ones that you learn from. So I'll start with my first lesson here today. I was asked to, in 20 minutes, cover what it's taken me 21 years to learn. And as you all can tell, that's absolutely impossible. My first lesson is one of failure. You cannot succeed unless you tolerate failure. We know that in the States very well, and we know less of that here in Europe. We tend to forget that in order to breed success, you first have to fail and fail and fail and fail again. There's always many ways. One of the things that is also not on Charlie's biography is that one of his most awesome achievements is that he is one of the best mountain climbers that I know. Charlie has climbed mountains in, 6 of the 7 continents or something like that. And one thing he will tell you is that there is the top of the mountain, and everybody knows where the top of the mountain is. There's not one path to the top of the mountain. There's many different paths to the top of the mountain. As an entrepreneur, it's impossible to sit at the bottom of the mountain, look at the summit, and say, "This is the one path I will follow." That's not possible. You have to go up, you have to adapt, you have to invent, you have to change. Now, he will also tell you that there may be 5 or 6 paths to the top of the mountain. There's thousands of paths going down the other way. Okay? So while there's few ways in which to succeed, there's thousands of ways in which to fail. In order to succeed, everything has to follow the right way. In order to fail, it's actually quite easy to make a mistake and fail. And the same thing happens when we're starting companies and when we're running companies. Now, the important thing is that when you fail, and if you do this long enough, you will at some point fail. And you get to the bottom of the mountain, rolling down, you get yourself up, you dust yourself up, you pick another path, and you go at it again. So I will try to give you 3, I don't want to call them lessons, but I want to give you 3 experiences. The first one I never use when I talk in the States, because Americans don't get this. I'm from Mexico, so I'm Latin, just like most of you. And all Latin countries have this fascination with food. Who here likes food? Raise hands. See, when I do this in the States, nobody raises their hand. All right? So the first lesson I will give you is one about cooking. Okay? And I will tell you why cooking is so important to entrepreneurs. The second one is I will tell you, the second piece that I would like to share with you is one about risk and how averse to risk we are. Who here likes risk? Raise your hands. See, many less people in the back like risk. They all like food. Now, the gringos here in the front, none of them like food, but they all like risk. Now, you guys in the back like food, but not risk. And that's actually wrong. And we'll talk about why risk is so important. And the last one is I will tell you why the world is completely different than it was 5 years ago and how you guys can take advantage of that. So first, let's start with cooking. Starting companies is exactly like cooking. Who's the best cook in the room? Who thinks is a great cook? You back there, what's your name? Stand up and speak up. I want to know who considers themselves to be a good cook, a good chef.
I'm a good cook because I know how to use the ingredients.
He knows how to use the ingredients. What is your favorite dish? Bacalao? Rice. Okay, so what's the most important thing you or any other of our food lovers up here, what is the most important thing before you start cooking your dish? Knowing what you're going to do. No. Anybody else? Who else likes to cook? Everybody likes food, but no one likes to cook. That's not good. If you like food, you have to learn how to cook. Anybody else? If I don't see a hand, I'm going to start calling people. Yes. Preparing the ingredients. Wrong. What else? Seeing what you have. Wrong. The most important thing about cooking is knowing whether somebody is going to eat the food. If no one's going to eat the food, then there's no point in cooking. Okay? The second most important thing is the ingredients. The third most important thing, if you're the chef, is the cooks. And the last most important thing is that you can be as fast as you want, but making food takes time. Okay? So let's take the first one and look at it. Why is it important to know if somebody's going to eat the food? It's pretty obvious. Right? You can cook all you want, but if nobody wants your food, nobody's going to eat your food. However, we go and start companies based on technologies that I'm sure are wonderful and charge ahead and raise money and spend time and resources. And we get a product to market and nobody wants to eat the food. In the States we say the dog doesn't eat the dog food, right? Because people don't like food in the States. But here we say the people don't want the food, right? So Fabio wants to cook rice and the people don't want the rice. The people are tired of rice. Okay? They want something else. So, who here has an idea for a company? Raise your hands. Nobody has ideas for companies. What are we doing here? People always have ideas, and when I was asked to come and talk here today, I was asked to talk about how to take an idea from the lab or the university to the market. That's not the right way to look at it. When we have an idea and we want to take it to the market, what we do is we go out there and we talk about the idea. And we talk. And we never listen. And that's the safest, fastest way to fail. Okay? We have to change that setting. We have to say, well, maybe I have an idea. Maybe I have an idea on how to make machine vision. But that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to listen. And I'm going to ask questions, and I'm going to shut up, and then I'm going to listen. And that will tell me what the people want to eat. Okay, the next one is the ingredients. Every time I try to give a talk about starting companies, people ask me, of your successful ones, what is the most important ingredient? Is it the technology, or the intellectual property, or the people, or, well, hold on. It's ingredients. Every single one of them has to be there. Every single one of them has to be there in the right proportion and at the right time. Otherwise, the dish will stink and nobody will eat it. They are all ingredients. They have to be inclusive, which is why they're called ingredients. You cannot make a great rice just by putting rice. You can have the best rice in the world, but you need all the other ingredients, and all of them are equally important. Okay, so people often ask me, well, if you have the best technology, isn't it true that you will always get the best team? No. If you have the best team, won't they find the best technology? No. The first thing you have to do is figure out what all the ingredients are to make your dish a success. And then you have to figure out when you're going to get those ingredients, and then you have to make sure that you get the best of each one of the ingredients. Now, be careful. Good chefs know that they have to substitute. I remember one time, this is a true cooking story, it was in Israel, and the consul of Mexico in Israel said, "Why don't you cook us some Mexican food?" And I said, "Great." And I go to the market in Israel, and there's nothing that even remotely resembles anything Mexican. So you have to improvise, and you have to substitute. But all the ingredients have to be there. How do you know you have the right ingredients? You answer your question. You answer your own question. You try. You try, and you try, and you try. And if you fail, you recognize that you failed early, and you change, and you try again. Hopefully your failure won't be catastrophic, right? If you remember Dog's story, he tried and tried and tried, and iterated and changed and tasted. Okay? And only when he had the recipe that he really liked did he move forward and push off far ahead. Okay? Now, I can't tell you, if you have the wrong ingredient, that will be the end of the company. Every company that has failed, fails because one of the ingredients was wrong, or the second reason, which is the one I will talk about, is the cooks. You're the chef, you need cooks. Okay? The chef doesn't go and man the fish station and then run over and do the desserts. No. The chef tells the cooks what to do, but the chef knows how to do everything. And this is critical. If the chef doesn't know how to do everything in the company, then you need a new chef. And in the history of the company, you will use many chefs. So if you guys go and start the company, will the finalists please raise your hands? I want to see who the finalists are in the audience. They're all over here. All right. So you guys are now CEOs, or all of you are management of your companies now. That's great. You're the chefs. Okay? 2, 3 years from now, 4 years from now, you're going to find out you can no longer be the chefs. You're going to have to either learn and adapt or replace yourselves. Because the chef needs to know how everything in the kitchen is done. And if you don't know something, then you need a new chef. In a startup, the chef will have to jump and do the fish from time to time. You will have to do the marketing from time to time. You will have to roll up your sleeves and go in the lab. You will have to call customers. You will have to fire people. You will have to hire people. And as the time goes by and the organization becomes more and more complicated, you will not have everything that it takes. You may grow up, you may learn various different things, and you may stay the CEO for a long time. But oftentimes that is not the case. And that's not a catastrophe. That's actually a good thing. The company got ahead of yourself. And then is when you have to bring a new chef, a new master to cook the dish. Okay? But at the beginning, remember this very carefully. Your cooks are your hands. The people that you hire in your company are going to be like your brothers. You're going to be spending more time with them than with your wife and kids, or boyfriend or girlfriend or mother or father or whoever it is that you live with. And sooner or later, you're going to find that those people are no longer the right ones, so you're no longer the right one, and you're going to have to make tough choices. And if you don't make those tough choices, that's the second fastest way to fail. Okay? One last analogy with cooking, and then I'll stop. Venture capitalists are horrible, horrible people. They give you money, little bits of money, they take most of your company, and then they tell you to hurry up and get it to the market as quickly as you can and as focused as you can. And if it takes you 1 month longer than you told them it was going to take, they want your head in a platter. Okay? However, cooking takes time. Cooking takes patience. Company development takes however long it is going to take. So whenever you're about to take money from an investor, venture capital, your Aunt Lily, or whoever it is that you're going to take a check from, make sure that you're taking patient capital, especially at this stage, where you don't know if it's going to take a year or 2 or 5 or 10. You don't know how fast you're going to be able to get to the top of the mountain, but I can tell you this, it's going to take you longer than you think it's going to take. That I can tell you for sure. I can't tell you why, but I can tell you that it will. So you have to take time. You have to be patient. And everybody in the team, investors, employees, everybody has to be equally patient. I just want to give you 2 more little tidbits, and then I'll shut up and sit down. The first one is the world has changed radically in the last 5 years. Startups are no longer isolated to a country or even a continent. When you're starting a new company, or you're trying to bring a new technology to market, you're no longer alone in Portugal. You're not even alone in Europe. You're competing against the entire world, and the entire world is your customer base. Investment no longer knows frontiers of continents and countries. And customers can be as far as China, Japan, Israel, India, or whatever else. You may have a technology today that you may think it's the best technology in the world. But what tells you there's not somebody else in China developing a technology that is going to be competing with yours? You have to be always aware of what's going on in the rest of the world. And you have to always be cognizant that your markets are going to change faster than they have ever before. Competition is going to catch up faster than it's ever been before. And investment is now omnipresent. Every country in the world, every emerging economy has risk capital available for those who know how to seek it. Finally, I want to tell you just 2 words about risk. Doug is a great example of someone who decided that he was going to take risks despite the fact that he was on an academic route. A lot of us are very afraid to working in a startup because we think a startup is risky. We are used to jobs where we go to work 9 to 5 and we get a paycheck at the end of the month, and we think that's actually very safe. And we think that a startup is a very unsafe environment because at any time the startup can run out of money, the board can go nuts and fire everybody, or we can just simply fail to put an ingredient in there and fall to the bottom of the mountain. Well, I'm here to tell you that a startup is no more risky or no less risky than a job in the government, than a job in a big company, than a job at a university. This is your time, and I'm talking to the guys from rows 2 behind. This is the time at which you can take those risks, and not taking those risks is the biggest risk of all. Because unless you seize those opportunities today, when you have time, when you have the energy, and when most importantly you have the passion, those risks are never going to be present again. The worst thing you can do, the most dangerous thing you can do, is stay at the bottom of the mountain. Thank you very much.
Andrey, thanks for teaching us how to cook. I hope that I didn't see that many cooks in the room. I'd like to have seen a lot more cooks in the room. So this is about entrepreneurship, and hopefully by the end of this ceremony, you'll be a bit more interested in learning how to cook and perhaps becoming a chef with your own projects. That's what we are working all to. So thank you both. We will now start with our presentations, and these guys, Plux, it will be life sciences track. They're already a winner in their area. Hugo, help me please with your mic. Thank you. So Hugo Gamboa is the founder of Plux. Is the track finalist from the track finals, and we will introduce Plux to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.